Hello, Steve Melendrez again. Illustrator, sculptor, model maker, designer, whatever, for the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles for 15 years. And this is part of my video posters for my daughter. And maybe someday grandchildren will be able to see this. But for right now, I'm just kind of documenting things, kind of visual diary. Hopefully someday she'll see some of these or all of them. This is titled Why I Don't Have an Ego, or Never Will. Now, when I first started the museum, I was in awe and shock straight up. And if you see my video on the first 3 hours of working at the museum, you understand why. And I'm going to be talking about 3 people that are brilliant, and that's why I can't have an ego, is because mostly everybody I worked with was brilliant and talented and extraordinary. And I've kind of mentioned a few people in other videos, but these are going to concentrate on like 3 people that I worked with. And you'll understand why. Forget about having an ego. Now, I've worked with a lot of other people. You know, I have some heroes that the museum was a hub for talent, but other people that come through and spend time in there. Now, I'm going to put this on pause because I want to show you a few things, and I need to get them. So I'm going to put it on pause. Okay, so one of the people that used to be at the museum, well, didn't work there. Oh, I guess he did stuff, but was around a lot, was William Stout. Kind of one of my heroes. And, you know, this is a book he did. I don't know if it's backwards, but William Stout. And his work is different. You know, he's a dinosaur guy too, but very graphic type individual. Brilliant work. Worked in some movies. Anyway, so, but his style it's really recognizable. I don't know, you can see some of that. So, yeah, he would just every once in a while come down. The other person that was there doing stuff, and there was so many artists coming by, now, back then, that's when I first started. So I was really intimidated. I didn't feel comfortable of who I was and what I did for, it took me 10 years to have the confidence that no matter what they threw at me, it was doable. Because it took that long for me. Another person right here is a guy, and I don't know if this is backwards or not, Mark Hallett. And if you look up his work, he is just a detailed illustrator, dinosaur guy. And he was there. And I wish I had the confidence, because it was right when I started working. But this is kind of a project that I worked on. And this is kind of one of his paintings they did for the museum. Now, this is that Momentosaurus that I was talking about we put together. So there it is. And this is his painting he did. And just kind of the actual painting he did. So a lot of these talented guys do projects for the museum. This is just his work. And if you wanted to look at his work, definitely look his name up. Yes, I just had an opportunity to work with a lot of terrific people. And I just want to put another person, which I wish I had the confidence to go up to them, because they were kind of idols of mine. And of course, they're very intimidating, but they're actually friendly. But because it was my first couple of years at the museum, I just didn't have the confidence. And it was Jane Goodall. She was doing a lecture, and I wanted to go up and talk to her, and didn't do it. I could still kick myself in the behind for that. I would have enjoyed, because she would have just been just a normal person, and she would have she treated everybody kindly, and I just didn't have the confidence, and I regret that. One time I heard, after she left the museum, she went to the Los Angeles Zoo, and she let out a chimp call. It was a greeting call. She knew how to greet chimpanzees in their own language. So she screamed out this greetings call, and all the chimps came out of wherever they were at to see who the new chimp in town was. Crazy. Anyway, so I'm going to stop it there. But this is just, like I said, I don't think my daughter knew about the Jane Goodall thing. And there's so many things, and this is one of those video post-its. So, okay, so this is Steve Melendrez again, and I wanted to explain to you why, no matter what I do or what I accomplished in the art field, and I've done a few things, I could never have an ego. I work with some of the most brilliant people in the world, I would imagine. There's a lot of talent out there. This is just one individual that I worked with on a few projects at the museum. This is John Neal, and maybe you've seen his work, but you just didn't know who he was. Now, he did a whole bunch of pumpkin wars, but he is a great sculptor and designer in his own right. And we just had our first joint venture when we did the tiniest dinosaur, the long-necked dinosaur project. And his work is just so over the top and awesome. And I'm just going to show you, may have seen his work on Pumpkin Wars, and some of the stuff he did in Pumpkin Wars is just incredible. Now I'm just going to go to the pumpkin things right here on his website, and you can see these are pumpkins. This is not a piece of clay. This is from an actual pumpkin, and I can't go through all of them, but I'll just give you a couple. Okay, this is a pumpkin. If he can carve a pumpkin like this, can you imagine what he's capable of doing? And we became really good friends, and I've contacted him and communicated through the years. This is a pumpkin. Anyway, like I said, I won't show you all of these, but I just want to see if I can go back to his. How do I go back to his regular site? Okay, so with that, I'm going to go to illustrations, and most of us were sculptors, model makers, and illustrators and designers, kind of a lot of different avenues. But if you notice, some of these things are from Halo or the Hunger Games, and the props from Hunger Games. Here's something from RoboCop, if you're familiar with that. Usually he designs the suits or the mechanics, weaponry. Oh, this is from Looper. So he did the background cities and different things like that. There's part of the city. Now this is his artwork. City scene. Let's see if I can get out of this. Let me kind of show you. Okay, let me just go Hunger Game things. Okay, so this is from the Hunger Games. So he actually, did the illustrations and makes the props. So like from, that Survivor thing. I mean, he's worked with Mattel, so all the small maquettes, things like that. It just, let me just kind of, God, there's so many things. It's just, Let me see, consumer goods. So yeah, so these are the small maquettes that he does for Mattel, and you can see the detail on the faces, and you can see how tiny he gets too. These are small little miniatures, and a great sculptor. And like I said, this is the reason I can never have an ego, because these are the people I used to work with. And let me go to another one. I can't do all the people because I did work with a lot of people. Now this is Jim Hatch. I worked with him, and he was on staff for quite a few years. We worked on the Peterson Museum. So I did some of the dioramas in the Peterson Museum, and he did some of the illustration work and a bunch of other stuff. We all do different things in there. So let me kind of just go to a couple of his illustrations. Okay, so like I said, this is his work, technical. Now, this helmet looks like it's the real thing. Now, he does a lot of his stuff, well, 99% of his stuff, on a computer. So this is a possibility you can do with a computer. Now, he works in what they call corporate. So he does very well. You know, so they don't care how much they need to pay him, and because they just need, you know, something done. They need it done to get something across. So he'll illustrate this helmet to show the airflow. But you can see that the abilities of this gentleman here. So I can go back. Did a lot of stuff. I mean, his internal drawings too. I mean, you have to understand your product. So not only did he do the painting, which this is like insane stuff, detail beyond you could ever imagine. But he had to understand what was the inside internal organs of this vehicle to get his point across. He's done T-shirts for In-N-Out Burger, a lot of motorcycles. He's a motorcycle guy, so you know he goes that direction. A lot of posters. Anyway, you can see his work is just over the top. You know, he'll have to do the technical design of these things and show the inner workings of how things work. So again, Jim Hatch, another gentleman I used to work with when we did work at the Peterson Museum. And I wish you can see these, but if you ever want to see his website, it's Jim Hatch Technical Illustration. So that's kind of a direction. And I did speak of the guy that when I first started at the museum, there's an In-N-Out shirt, Mike Meeker, genius and a half. That's why I ended up having to be a sculptor and model maker, because I could not compete with that guy on a painting level. And he has so many awards, and even has a Academy Award. And I mentioned that in another video for The Life of Pi, where the guy's trapped on the boat with a tiger. So the vision you see is Michael's brain, and he has a list of things. But you can see this is Jim Hatch. I'm going to get rid of him. So this is another gentleman I worked with, David Robert Salidi. And we worked together when we were doing the Native American Hall. And that's when I did the giant 4-story Anasazi cliff dwelling. And he did the mannequins, wax figures for that project too. So here's the maidens. So when you look at these things, let me see if I can blow up on that. These things, it looks, well, the wax museum. So you kind of have what I'm talking about. If you ever been to a Movie Land Wax Museum, he used to work there first. He's done a lot of stuff too. Anyway, it just, like I said, the talent that I worked with doesn't allow us to have an ego. Did some stuff for Michael Jackson, And you know, he does that kind of sculpting where when you're when you walk up to it and you're a foot away from it, you just have this strange sensation that it's going to turn around and say hello to you. But he was, you know, he did a lot of other stuff other than movie things. But like I said, brilliant people. And that is who I used to work with. And that is why I could never, ever get an ego. And that's why nobody else had an ego in the museum, because there was so much talent there. And another person I haven't mentioned, just briefly, Robert Russell Reed. Now, Reed is an unusual individual. He looks like a biker dude, long hair. But one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, other than my wife. She was crazy brilliant also. But this guy had the ability to talk to the PhDs in our museum at their level. He was so well read. And he was just a kind, generous person. And he could also communicate with the helpers in the dock area, like he was one of them, and could relate to them, just like they've been friends for 30 years. And he never ever made you feel like you were stupid, even though he could have if he wanted to at any point in time. And those are the kind of people I worked with and appreciated their talents and their minds. So I wanted to put this out because this is definitely a video posted for my daughter, because I'm sure she knew some of these things with some of the people I work with, not all of them. Now, Robert is the background painter. So whenever you go to the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles and you look at some of those paintings back there, now I worked on the foreground and making plants and the diorama parts like that and doing the models, but he did the stuff behind the plants and stuff. But he didn't want to ever overpower what was happening in front. It was a blend of everybody's talent together. Now, of course, there was other background painters throughout the years, and there's some brilliant people back then too. He did the Oryx and the Gorilla Group and Rhinoceros, and he did some stuff in Reno for the museum up there. But he's also great-grandson to Charles Russell Reed. Or I think it's Russell Remington. Well, there's two guys, Western paintings, Remington and Russell. So he's actually a descendant. So that's where he probably gets that from, that side of the family. But when you look at his work, it's just so extraordinary. His ability to capture just the right color is something that most people, when they study color for 30 years, wouldn't even get close to his abilities. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because, like I said, I'm doing video posts for my daughter, and I may do some other artists and people that I worked with, but I just figured maybe 3 is enough. Anyway,